Hello everyone, hope you're all doing great and welcome back. In this video, we're going to be building a cool animation. So it's just a quick animation that I wanted to show you that I was working with. So I thought quickly show you how you guys can build some cool animations in SwiftUI and how easy they are. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We're not going to waste too much time talking about what it is. We're just going to see it in action. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to first create three state properties, and these state properties are going to represent basically these dollar emojis that are going to fly from one person to another. Okay, so you're going to create state private var, and I'm going to copy this 3 times, and these are going to be basically, I'm just going to call them move $1 false. And actually, you know what, I'm going to just copy this and paste it here, and we're just going to change these to $2 and $3. Okay, now next thing what we're going to do is we're going to create a computer property, whether to this computer property is going to help us determine whether to show this text label that we're going to have, which is basically going to help us trigger the animation, whether to send the money from one side to another or receive the money, which is going to move the money back to the person who's sending it. Okay, so send or receive. Okay, and this is going to be a Boolean computed property. Essentially, if when all move dollars are true, this property is going to be true, and when all are false, then this is going to be false. Okay, or even one of them is going to be false, then it's going to be false. So we want to move all the money once over. It's sort of money transfer animation that he can show. All right, so now it's time to build our UI. So we're going to start by creating a navigation stack. Okay, and inside the navigation stack, we're going to create a Z stack. The Z stack is going to act as a background for our entire view, and I'm going to have navigation title as well, just so we have the navigation title right there, devtechie.com. Okay, all right, and then our Z stack is basically going to have a color as a background, so we're going to use color.mint ignore safe area. We want to actually show the color bleeding through the safe area, and we are going to basically underneath add a V stack. Okay, this V stack is going to hold our animation objects as well as the trigger. The trigger is going to be the button, and this button is going to show send or receive based on whether send or receive is true or false. So if it is true, that means we are ready to receive the money, or we should see the receive money animation, otherwise send money animation. Okay, and for the action, we are simply going to toggle those $3 values. Okay, so move $1 toggle, and I'm gonna do this for all 3 of them. Okay, so let's try to figure out what's going on. Let me see if maybe the navigation stack is an issue. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's leave the navigation stack out. Okay, so we have a button, and let's set the foreground style for this guy. So foreground style is going to be white. The font is going to be headline, and the offset is going to be y direction 400 points. So we want to move this sort of down here. Okay, let's move it a little bit up, maybe 300 is good. Okay, perfect. So now next thing what we're going to do is we want to basically animate those dollars that we're talking about. So we're going to create another Z stack inside. So a Z stack, this Z stack is going to have basically the text first, sender and receiver. All right, so that's what we are displaying here. I'm just gonna simply use the emoji, and these emojis are gonna represent sender and receiver. So gonna have the large title frame. Let's define the frame for this guy with width as 100 and height as 100 as well. And we're gonna add a background. And the background is basically going to be another Z stack. And this Z stack is going to host a circle. All right, and foreground style for this circle is going to be orange color with opacity as 0.8. Okay, so this is going to be basically our sender side, and right underneath we're going to have a text which is going to say me, the person who's sending, and offset of negative 30 points in Y direction. There you go. So we're gonna have like, me going up here. Okay, the dollar values are going to be stacked at the bottom, right? So now we have like, background set. We're going to move the whole thing by setting its offset x in negative 150 point. So it's going to move up here, right? So let's say we can actually adjust this, maybe 140. Actually looks good. Okay, so next we're going to create another text view which is going to represent the person who's receiving the money. So the person who's receiving, they're excited, so we're gonna basically and this is DT, and they're like, right now it's stacked on the top, so we're going to change just the offset value of x to move it on the other side. So now we have like, two entities sending and receiving the dollar. Okay, now it's time to add some dollar emojis. So we're gonna simply add a dollar emoji, and it's just gonna be a text. Text is gonna be a dollar emoji. Let's use this one, the flying dollar, and we're gonna set the font as large title, offset Y direction negative 150, sorry, X direction negative 150, and Y is going to be 30 points. So it's going to show up somewhere around here. There we go. And then we're going to add a rotation effect. This is going to be in degrees, and we're going to say, depending upon the move dollar value, it's going to be either 205 when move dollar is true, otherwise 0. Okay, so no rotation when it is like, false, the move dollar is false, otherwise apply 205 rotation. Well, animate this. Okay, animate this change over. So animation, apply the animation modifier. We're going to use the ease in and out with duration value. Duration is going to be 3 seconds over which the animation is going to play. We're going to add a delay of like 0.1 second. Essentially, like animation is going to start a little bit after, like once the 0.1 second has passed. So as soon as you press the trigger, it's going to wait 0.1 second, and then animation is going to start. And then the value upon which the animation is going to play is going to be move $1. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 3 copies. I'm going to basically send $3 over. Okay, so we have like these 3 copies. The only thing that we can change here is this delay value, so 0.3 and 0.5 maybe. Okay, all right, so these are like all the changes. So let's go ahead and give it a go and see like how it plays. So as you can see, the dollars are moving from one end to the other. Also, like it's basically rotating while it's moving, and it rotates back, so it's actually keeping the direction. So like, basically you're like, able to see how the rotation is being played, animated, essentially while the dollars are flying out from one pocket to another. Okay, now this animation is interruptible. That means it can actually revert back. So if I immediately click, user didn't get the money, but we retrieve it back. And this is like, pretty fun to play with. All right, so this is great. Like, it's working as expected, but there are some optimizations that we can do here. First of all, we don't need 3 variables to trigger the animation. So we're going to just change it to just one move dollar. Okay. So that's one change that we're going to do. I'm going to optimize this code. The other thing is that these values, they actually are relying on just move dollar. As you see, like, when I copied and pasted, we did not change any of these. So trigger does not change. That means the only code that is repeating here is this delay. And we can optimize this by taking these and refactoring it to move it inside a for each. And we're gonna basically for each over a loop, and that loop is gonna basically for each over an array, and that array is basically gonna contain our duration, and we're gonna ID these by self. So each of these entries, like 0.1, 0.3, and 0.5, they have their own hash value. That means they can actually identify themselves. So we can actually take advantage of that fact, and we actually receive that value that currently being iterated over into this val variable, and we're gonna actually replace this val variable here. None of the other things are changing here, so we simply can remove these. And now let's go ahead and play our animation and see if if we can actually make the entire thing work. So let's see. All right, so it is not working right now. Let's see, we made a mistake somewhere. Okay, so there's the mistake. I ended up removing the toggle, which is changing the state. So if the state does not change, the animation is not going to play. So right now, we are changing the state whenever the button is tapped on. So now we have button being tapped on. So you can see that the animation is playing, and it is still interruptible. So you can leave the dollar flying around depending upon how quick you are clicking on. So it's pretty fun, just playing with these animation properties. Now you can optimize this further by consolidating this me and you as well. So for example, we can say that there is a for each here as well, and this for each contains basically me and dt. Okay, and we get the value here, and this value is going to determine what our offset values are going to be. So for example, so we're going to say if it is me, okay, then we show the this emoji. All right, otherwise we show this emoji. Okay, so that's one. What is the, sorry, this is, okay, and we need to define the ID as well. Okay, and the other thing that is changing is we are simply gonna put this val here. So we have the value, and we need this determination of me versus the person we are sending, so we can set the offset correctly. So we're gonna say this is gonna be -140 and 140 depending upon which value it is. Okay, so let's go ahead and just try to run it with this Okay, and now as you can see, it is actually working fine. I'm going to remove these two. Okay, so remember when we started, we have we had a bunch of variables that were hanging around here. Now as you can see, our code is much more optimized. So there are two things I wanted to show you, that animation is super simple in case of SwiftUI, and you can achieve a lot of things just by combining some of the animation techniques. But on the top of that, you can actually optimize your code as much as you want if you recognize the pattern. And I just showed you how we started off with repeated code, and then we actually optimize it by recognizing the pattern and working with that pattern to define and create something that actually is much more optimized and reusable. Okay, all right, with that, we have reached the end of this video. Thanks everyone for watching, and I will see you guys in another video.